Okay, hello again everyone. We'll get started. We're having a bit of a technical issue with the recording. So if you could all just take notes for us and we'll aggregate them later afterwards, make sure we all get accurate description of the meeting. Okay, you'll be responsible for that, Karen? All right. All right. We were going to record, but we're now not. Okay.
We're recording.
Okay, we're recording on the phone here. So please speak up into the phone, project your voice as much as possible. Okay. I'll just go through a few rules. All persons attending the meeting are to be respectful of and considerate towards other persons attending the meeting. Language and conduct at the meeting that could be perceived as offensive, defamatory or threatening to a person attending the meeting or listening to the recording is not acceptable. For the purposes of the recording, elected members should wait for the chairperson to announce them before speaking. And can we please turn off all mobile devices or flick them to silent? Thank you very much. Okay, those present here tonight are Lord Mayor Anna Reynolds, Alderman Louise Bloomfield, Alderman Marty Zuko, Councillor John Kelly, the Deputy Lord Mayor Zelinda Sherlock, Councillor Ben Lohberger, Councillor Michael Dutta, Councillor Gemma Kitsos, and myself, Councillor Bill Harvey. Do we have any apologies, CEO?
Ryan Posselt.
Ryan Posselt. No others? Okay. Any leave of absence?
No.
All right. Acknowledgement of country. In recognition of the deep history and culture of this place, I wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land upon which the city of Hobart was built. I acknowledge the determination and resilience of the Palawa people of Tasmania who have survived invasion and dispossession and continue to maintain their identity, culture and rights. I recognise the value of continuing Aboriginal knowledge and cultural practice and pay respect to elders past, present and emerging. Thank you. The next item is the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes? And if so, could someone please move? Consideration of supplementary items. I understand we do have a couple. They're moved. Okay, there's two supplementary items that we'll be looking at. And there's one item that is being removed from the agenda, which is the Mac Point item. So we've had an apology from the representative from Mac Point, so they won't be here today. So I'm sorry to disappoint those of you who are here for that item. But I will just quickly ask if you have any specific questions you'd like noted before we move on to the next agenda item. Just questions. We won't be debating it, but just if you have a question that's burning that you would have liked to have asked, you can say it now if you want. Go ahead. Yep. And just state your name, please.
My name is Helen Hussey. Do I need to come?
Yeah, come forward. Yep.
Okay. In the event that the stadium doesn't go ahead, what are the plans for the site, and is housing going to be part of that?
Well, we'll take that on notice. I don't think we can discuss it tonight.
Yep, thank you.
Could you state your name and your question, please?
Yeah, Rob Horton, North Hobart. Can you hear me?
Can.
Okay. Yeah, look, I had a question about the stadium. I'm a no stadium supporter, but at the same time I support football, the VFL side of it anyway. And I'm a little bit concerned about if we're going to be looking at putting in blocked bike lanes continuing from Campbell Street through Argyle Street, up through Federal Street, out towards Calvary on Augusta Road. I'm not against bike lanes, but I'm against the protected ones. They take away the parking. We've had a fairly successful weekend with football at North Hobart this weekend. So we don't want to block the parking, otherwise they'll end up moving up into our area, which is
all right.
through West Hobart.
Thank you. Thanks for the question. And just state your name, Glenys.
My name is Glenys Jones. Firstly, thanks for the opportunity to put a question, given that the item has been postponed. It seems to me that every time we blink, the costs and complexities of the Macquarie Point project spiral upwards. In the event that, given the state's dire budgetary situation, in the event that our parliamentarians decide that the project no longer warrants the level of costs and disbenefits that have been identified, how will the Macquarie Point Development Corporation respond? Will they be interested in refocusing planning on better alternative options for the development of the Macquarie Point site? And if so, may I urge consideration of the proposal that I have put forward on my LinkedIn posts as for the Macquarie Point site to be a hub for visitor convention centre of international standard that promotes Tasmania innovation and excellence in sustainability.
Okay. Well, we'll note that question as, along with the others, and we might be able to forward those to the representative of the Macquarie Point project.
Thank you. I'll leave the meeting now.
Okay, thank you. Could I ask if there are any conflicts of interest for the agenda tonight? No conflicts? Okay, we'll keep moving. Transfer of agenda items.
Mr. Chair,
Yep.
I don't know whether or not
Alderman
it's a transfer or I'll wait for the item, but I'd like to either defer or transfer 6.3. Reasons for it: this was a notice of motion that went to council by an elected member who's not present, and I think it's only appropriate that that matter be discussed when that elected member's present. So I'd either transfer it to the appropriate workshop
When they're here.
when they're here.
Can I just get a comment from the CEO first on that?
CEO?
Yep. CEO?
Well, look, it's a council decision to defer, not one elected member, so if it's brought forward, it's just through timing. Certainly not done by design. So, I mean, if the council were of the view they wanted to consider it further down the track, then that's, of course, your prerogative. So.
Did you want to move a deferral?
Move a deferral.
Okay, moved by Alderman Zuko that we defer that item to a later date.
Can we discuss it or not?
Well, no, yeah. I'll put the item that we defer it. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. No. Can I see a show of hands? Those in favour? Alderman Bloomfield, Alderman Zuko, Councillor Kelly. Those against deferring it? Lord Mayor, Deputy Lord Mayor, Councillor Lohberger, Councillor Dutta, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Harvey. Okay, so that's not deferred, that failed. We'll stick with the agenda. Just go back and see where I'm at. Items for workshopping is item 6. Item 6.1. So we're now moving into the workshop portion of the meeting. Just to remind elected members, there's no decisions to be made in this workshop. We're just here for information and discussion. Item 6.1 is the Newtown area briefing. So over to you, CEO.
Thanks, Chair. So for those that are new to one of the Hobart workshops, when we are out in the community, we like to just touch on what we're doing in the different suburbs that we're in, obviously focusing on Newtown tonight. So if we can get the presentation up on the screen. Is that as big as it goes? There we go, thank you. So Newtown. So as at 30th of June last year, the population of Newtown was a little over 6,500, so 6,652 people. So we've got a relatively young median age of 38. 27.6% of people in Newtown are born overseas, and the top countries of birth, obviously Australia, India, United Kingdom, Nepal, China and New Zealand. So our top industries of employment in the suburb are healthcare and social assistance, education and training, public administration and safety, accommodation and food services, retail, professional, scientific and technical services. So in terms of the housing tenure, 29% of people own their own house outright, 25% with a mortgage, and we've got 35% of the population renting in the suburb. 8.3% of people in Newtown need assistance in their day-to-day lives due to disability, compared to 4.6% for the broader Hobart local government area. And 36% of people in Newtown reported one or more long-term health conditions at a higher rate than the Hobart LGA of 32%. So some interesting stats in terms of what's happening in the suburb, but we'll pass over in terms of what we're doing project-wise. I think this is to you, Karen, is that?
Yes, that's me. So I'm sure many of you will be familiar with the Newtown Sporting Precinct Master Plan, which does propose quite substantial works. Thanks. So we are working, taking the elephant one bite at a time, I guess some people would say, doing what we can while we work towards the bigger goal of delivering on the whole master plan. So we've done stage one, converting a bowling green to netball courts, increasing the netball provision by 25%, and also some shelters for the bowling green. So that's been quite successful and well received by many in the community. And then as we go on to what we're calling stage two, consolidating the Newtown Oval facing infrastructure. So again, doing what we can to keep progressing the upgrade of those facilities by upgrading change rooms and amenities, viewing area, offices and storage and public toilets. We're working closely with all of the stakeholders that you can imagine who would be and trying to fit, to the extent that we can, everybody's different views in the final design. A Healthy Hobart. Hopefully many of the community members here today are familiar with this program, and if not, I strongly encourage you to have a look at our website to see what we offer. So this is a citywide program to encourage people to try new activities. We encourage young and old to come and try out our various things on offer, including lawn bowls, Scottish and Latin dance, and kids dance. So very popular program, so I encourage you, as I said, to hop on our website and see what's available. Another body of work that hopefully some people are familiar with, we've had some sessions with the community, as you'll see from the photos up there, is a master plan for Cornelian Bay and Selfs Point, so including this area where we are tonight, all the way through to the playing fields and beyond in Cornelian Bay. As you can imagine, there are lots of different factors to take into account preparing a master plan like that, which has quite a variety of uses and community touch points. And we're working quite deeply with the community to unravel what everybody would like to see in this master plan. So that will come to elected members, I think it's next month, so they can see the work that we've been doing. Another body of work that we're doing, and this touches on the question that was asked earlier, is part of what we're calling our Better Streets program. We're looking at, in particular, Augusta Road and Upper Elizabeth Street. So we don't think that the street layout and the way people are moving through those spaces are designed in the most ideal way. And before we go out and do our own design, we are going out to the community to get their input to find out what they think would suit best. So making it essentially a greener, more attractive place for people walking, cycling, using public transport, and of course allowing cars to still move freely and safely through that area. So this is currently on our Your Say website, part of our website that allows for public input. So I really do strongly encourage people to hop on our Your Say and give us your opinion on what you'd like to see. over to you. Here you go.
Thanks, everybody. So in the infrastructure area, there's a number of works that we've sort of completed over this financial year. You'll notice there's a bit of a flavour on stormwater, and you'll notice it'll come up in a couple of the other slides as well. So we're starting to identify a lot more areas all around the city, but particularly in some of the ones in Newtown recently there, that we're actually looking at replacing those. So we've obviously done some work in Rube Street recently. We also did some patching work along Queen's Walk, where some of the pavement was deteriorating, which was completed a month or so ago. Newtown Road, we've had some footpath renewal in that area as well. Also some bit of a long-standing issue with some stormwater issues just for the houses that back onto the intercity cycleway, a section of the intercity cycleway where we've installed some new stormwater in place to actually try and deal with that as well at the same time. Upcoming, we've got a number of projects that are upcoming for 26-27. So as I said, there's a bit of a flavour on stormwater in a few different areas there. So we'll be doing some more stormwater works in Sunnyside Road, in between Newtown Road and Parvia Street. Also Burnside Avenue, Cressy Street. We'll be looking at doing both some stormwater and also some replacement of footpaths in those areas. Oldham Avenue, some renewal of the stormwater mains through that area as well at the same time. And then there's a number of other ones there which are ones that we've identified where we've got issues with the road. So there's some road repairs and potential resurfacing of these particular roads. So you've got Bell Street, Thurza Street and Hope Street as well. So it's certainly an ongoing commitment we have looking where some of our assets, particularly in some of these areas where we've got some older assets or under capacity stormwater lines in particular there. So we have an ongoing program to actually try and manage those over the next 5 years or so. So quite a bit of work still to be done in that area there, but these are the ones we've identified as our projects for 26-27. Oh no, I've got some more here. So Newtown Rivulet, so you'll all be aware of the work we've actually done in that space through there, so that's been a fantastic project, one done in partnership both with Glenorchy and also with some federal grant funding as well at the same time. Certainly was an issue, a long-standing issue, very visible to the eye in terms of a really poor situation. So huge amount of work done in terms of rewilding that area there. That one's been going really well. So a lot of the planting's actually taken, which is fantastic. So we expect over the next year or so there, a completely different look to that area there. So it's really a credit for all that's actually been involved with that one, which includes the community as well. So the community has been actively involved with that one as well. So certainly thanks goes to them as well. Just worthwhile mentioning that, we're in the process of actually looking at an area in Risdon Road. This one's been a long-standing issue with some flooding in that area. So there's some issues with some of the larger type flood events we get where the whole area tends to get covered with water for a period of time. But there's also a lot of nuisance flooding that happens more frequently as well. So we're looking at some of the flood modelling there, particularly with the viewpoint of actually trying to deal with some of this nuisance flooding in particular. So this one here is also a little bit involved with one of the projects we did this year in terms of some of the works in the Queen's Walk Road as well. So that's sort of one of the boundary points for that as well. So it may be we'll need to do some more work in that spot as well at the same time. And that is me.
Thanks. Thank you. My name is Ben Artup. I head up Community and Economic Development, and a couple of areas I cover offer environmental health and the Community Grants Program, which I'll just touch upon tonight in terms of the work we're doing in the Newtown area. Environmental health, there's 64 food and businesses in the area that we currently regulate, mainly restaurants, cafes and takeaways, 2 public swimming pools that we monitor each year, and also conduct our school-based immunisation project, particularly the City of Hobart High, which is one of the biggest vaccination programs that we do, or schools that we work with. In terms of complaints, we get a lot of complaints in the environmental health area. 2 of the big areas, which is typical for most areas, around noise and food safety, which come in. So And as part of the Cornelian Bay Master Plan process that Karen spoke about, we're asked to look at the ongoing water quality of Cornelian Bay and how that's performing in terms of that master planning work, which is confirmed, that testing that we did over the current summer period confirmed, I guess, the status quo around the water there, particularly in the southern area, being unsuitable for swimming moving forward unless there's other major interventions. And then my last slide, community grants. So Newtown's been quite successful in getting grants, particularly in our sustainability, in our climate youth action funding programs. So last year you got over $40,000 in community-based grants to organisations. Some of the organisations, Kickstart Arts, have been quite successful over a couple of years. Drill Performance Company and Sustainable Living Tasmania have all been some of the big recipients of grant funding in the Newtown area over the last couple of years. That's about it.
Thanks, Chair. Open for discussion, are we? Okay. So to the committee members, any questions for the officers or comments? I'm happy to have both questions and comments. Lord Mayor. And I will take a speaking list. Thank you.
At this stage, just a question, which was just around the project. I think there's a project to develop a new footpath just up here near these apartments.
I'm just conscious of the microphones as well, if you could speak into the microphone.
Yeah, I recall there was a footpath project. It came originally out of a petition from the residents of the apartments that we can see from here. And then I'm pretty sure it was on a capital works program that we were going to create a new footpath in that vicinity, in the sort of, basically in that, around those apartments. Do we know what's happened to that project?
No, but I can trace it up though. I mean, like, it's certainly not an opinion on this for next year, but I can see where it might actually fit. Just make sure it hasn't dropped off and make sure that it does come back on the longer term plan.
Unless it already happened and I missed it.
Possibly, yeah. I can trace it up.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Michael?
Thank you. Just a question with regards to the Newtown statistics. Is there any statistics that's available with regards to the Airbnb? How many houses in Newtown have been...
Well, there would be information available. I'd have to source it.
All right. Okay.
So we can do that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Councillor Lohberger.
Thank you, Chair. I just had a question about the noise complaints. Given they're the highest complaint received, there's sort of a number of factors, I guess. I'm just interested in whether there's any breakdown, whether it was dogs or industry or roadworks. I mean, was there anything particular that sparked complaints?
Thanks for the question. I have to take that one on notice to get break down the data. I've only been presented high-level commentary on the complaints I've had, but yeah, happy to get back on some specifics.
Thanks, Chair.
Further questions around the table? No? Look, I've got one that I've been interested in for a long time, and that's the walkway potentially around up Gas Road and then around back down to South Point Road, which is on plans. I'm curious, I think was that the walkway you were referring to, or you're referring to around the Queen's Walk Flats area?
Yeah, literally over there. It was just a new footpath.
Yeah, they've got a new footpath.
They have.
It's quite a good new footpath, but there's no new footpath to the lights. You've still got to walk on the gravel or walk to the road and walk along the road. So there's maybe a bit more work, but I'm not quite sure. So my question is that plan to extend the Cornelian Bay walkway around to the bottom along Gasworks Road, where they're using the area for laydown, and bringing that around to Selfs Point. And my question really is, have we had any discussions? Have we had any discussions with the cemetery about bringing that road through the cemetery rather than along Selfs Point Road, where you run the risk of mixing it with semi-trailers?
Not that I know of. So obviously there's still a bit to go in terms of that side of things. But yeah, it's probably something we can actually look at as well as a possibility.
Yeah.
Taking it through there, like years,
And there's already a road that goes up a little slope along the boundary of the cemetery. It just needs to be upgraded. And the second part of this will be to you, Philip. Could that be a cycleway and an extension of the dog walking area on lead through the cemetery to complete that circuit around the cemetery?
Okay, so as part of the master plan work and engagement, we have had a conversation with the cemetery. The cemetery obviously are very keen, are very open to the idea of having more defined pathways throughout the sort of desire lines to actually facilitate and encourage it as a movement corridor. Dogs would not be part of that. They would make that's very clear that they do not want any dogs on lead or off lead in that environment.
No one hold back your jokes about bones and dogs and things.
Just in terms of the headland, we are working collaboratively with Taswater. As part of their remediation requirements, they've engaged a landscape designer, Realm Studio, to work with Palawa Consultants to come up with a proposal for a new connectivity path right along the headland. Now, that would obviously be looking at reinstating some of the original plantings in a really sensitive way. So we're currently working hand in hand with Taswater on that, and then that will obviously connect with Gas Road. As part of the master plan, we are having some foconversations with the design team who are putting together the design for the improvement of Gas Road and talking about potential footpath provision along that, given it's very poor at the moment.
Mm-hmm. And just to add on, another potential would be to link it through over here to the bay.
We are having a conversation with Taswater about some kind of permeability through their site, yet to be fully landed, but certainly to have some point where you can actually walk from here all along our land on the water's edge and then cut through to Gas Road.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Philip. Any other questions from around the table? Any comments? No comments?
Yeah. Our latest statistics for conversion to visitor accommodation in Newtown are 53 properties.
Okay. Councillor Dutta, 53. Councillor Kelly.
Okay, yeah, just by general comments on Newtown, seeing that's what this subject's about. A great suburb, Newtown, Hobart's first suburb, and I was born in Newtown. Calvary Hospital fits actually in Newtown's boundary, I do understand, and I've seen it progress from turning into a very gentrified suburb now, and that's evident with the statistics of the house ownership and the prices that North Hobart's achieving now. I think Council's done a great job with some of the work there on the main road in the intersection of Cross Street with the paving and the outdoor dining area, which has seemed to be working really well, and the streets and everything else. It's turning into a very nice place, Newtown at least. As we come down through here, it's great work that's been done with the Rivulet, with the restoration of that and everything else. It's a very strong residents association. I've been to a few of their meetings, and they're a really active bunch of people, and they care passionately about the suburb, which is really good. The things that I do lament about Newtown, and I guess this is right in this precinct we're in here now at the moment, I do lament the sewage works going in straight over here, which I believe was a really lost opportunity for us to turn this area into as the master plan was presented 1 week before we decided to sell off the land to Southern Waters for a sewage works. It could have perhaps been, I think we should have thought a little bit more about the development of this area into this aquatic area. We're sitting here in the rowing precinct, which I used to be involved with a lot in schoolboys and post that in coaching rowing, and it's a incredibly well-used area with school groups and post-school with the clubs, with the rowing, and it's just a bit sad that we've now got this.
Councillor Kelly, do you have any comments on the presentation we've seen tonight?
Yes, it's all tied in with the whole Newtown, isn't it?
No, we're talking about the presentation tonight. I think the comments
And
are
the
around
water,
that is what
but
we're
other
looking
people
for.
are talking about the water, the walkways and all that. I'm going to get onto that in a second, if that's okay, Chair.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So that's the background to it. It'd be great to get this connection too with the walk continuing from the city through the walkway which we've got going along the botanical gardens and there and there. And I just think we've got to be careful we don't erode all those little areas, chipping bits out of the edges there. And we're a river city and we promote all that, and it'd be great to see that all happen. So it's a fantastic suburb, Newtown. The council's done some great work, but I think we've got to look strategically at some of these other decisions we're making with that.
Thanks, Councillor Kelly. Alderman Bloomfield.
With the paved area we've got outside Jack and Ross, we had a really great, function where we had the stalls and we had entertainment and all the rest of it to get it established. We haven't had anything since. Have we got anything slated to do there in that area? It would be nice if we did something annually, to be honest.
Yeah, we haven't got the person who can respond to that, so we'll need to take that question on notice.
Okay, yep. I can add something. They have had a second function, so there have been two of those sort of multicultural style functions with lots of different presentations and music. But I'm not sure about this year. Yeah, there was one last year.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor Lohberger. Lord Mayor?
Seek clarification from Councillor Lohberger. Was that in the shopping precinct?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, they closed down that little area outside Jacqueline and the Cross. And yeah, there were dancing groups and there was a stage set up.
Thank you. I've got any other comments? No? I've got one more comment regarding, this to you, David, regarding the rivulet in Risdon Road and the work that's being done there to try and mitigate some of those, what did you call them, those minor flooding issues?
Yeah, so this the area around Queen's Wharf and that,
What's planned?
Well, we're not going to know at this stage yet until they finish the flood modelling. It's been as I said, they've looked at it before, they've done some flood modelling before, so it's mainly for the larger type events, the whole thing covered over the water, but it's more to do with the type of things that are involved with actually some of those.
Is that the convergence of the two streams? Yeah, no, I'll follow that with interest. I think there's opportunities there to add on to what's already occurred out here and take it back upstream a bit further and have a bit more impoundment of, some ponding of water or, widening of the stream in certain locations, a bit more wetland kind of approach. Yeah.
And look, if there's anything that we can do that actually, I suppose, involves moving the community as well. So I think the comment was made about the community groups here and how active they actually are, and I'd like to echo that as well at the same time. Being fantastic in terms of the works they've actually done and how supportive they are. Yeah, that's a really great opportunity.
And groups on both sides of the boundary. Yeah. Okay. I'll throw it open to the floor. Anyone got a question they'd like to throw into the mix?
From the public?
Yep, from the public.
Yeah.
If we could stick with questions rather than
right.
long-winded commentary.
Speaking about accommodation you're building, I think the old tennis courts, that's going ahead at the moment. There's a place on Lower Vista Road, I think, has got accommodation too. Now, the large strip of land on Newtown Road opposite the dry cleaners, what's happening there? That's nothing going on there, or what's happening?
Would you like to take that?
Chair, my understanding is that there is an application for houses and visitor accommodation to go to that site.
Is it going to go ahead shortly, or heaven knows? All right, just thought I'd ask. Thank you.
Okay. All good from the floor? Okay. All right. We'll move on to the next item. Was that one for noting? Do we have a motion to move? No. Okay. Yep. Okay. So the Mac Point Master Plan briefing has been deferred. So we move on to 6.3, Transforming Collins Street Trial, consideration of a deferred council meeting agenda. Sorry?
It's right here, hang on.
Did I have a flicker? I missed that. Yep.
Right, so tonight we have the notice of motion regarding 3 specific issues on Collins Street, which has been referred to workshop. I thought I'd just very briefly run through those 3 issues to refresh everybody's memory. The first one is buses turning from Collins Street onto Collins, turning right. There has been a review footage of that spot. There was a concern that some buses were finding it a little bit too tight. What we have done to resolve that issue is to move the holding line back about a metre. So you can probably see on the screen, I don't know if it would help if I walked up to show. So the holding line was here, and buses were finding it just a little bit too tight. So we've moved it back. Cars need to stop there when the lights are red, so the buses have got a better angle to go around the corner. So from an officer perspective, we have found that to be effective, and we consider that issue to have been resolved. Issue 2 was to do, was to do with a section of no parking for set down and pick up outside the village cinema, which is obviously a spot where parents are dropping kids and all the rest of that. But to offset this, there's a 5-minute parking opposite, which should provide the same function, and a loading zone just up the street on the same side. So this is one that we really haven't had much feedback from the public on, and we, at officer level, don't see that this is an ongoing issue. Issue 3, which did get a little bit spicy at Christmas time, was the constriction of Victoria Street to 1 lane, exiting from Centrepoint car park. So we were finding that there was some slowing of the traffic coming out of that intersection, and it had some impacts back into the car park. So we have reverted that now back to the way that it was previously. Those works cost about $5,000, and it's sort of gone back to the way things were. So the reason we did those works in the first place was to create a better environment for pedestrians, but on balance we've decided we think it's better if that's opened back up to allow the free flow of traffic. Of course, we have quite a strict reporting regime for this trial. We had pre-installation, 1 month post-installation, 3-month post-installation, and we're just coming up to the 12-month reporting process. So we've got 7 metrics that we are measuring in each of those reports. It's all standardised reporting, which is checked by external consultants. So we're about to go through that process for the 12-month review. Of course, that goes from the date when the first works went in, not from there have been some works progressively, including some that finished last week. So really, it's over to elected members and to see whether there are any outstanding issues that you'd like to discuss.
Okay, Deputy Lord Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just wondered, just with regards to the first issue, when did Council move the stop line?
That was
late last year. Late last year.
Yeah, I'd say that was about November last year.
That sounds yeah.
So approximately November 2025. And how long have you monitored it since then? And do you have any data or any feedback since then?
We have been keeping an eye on it. We are trying very hard to keep our monitoring and reporting systems in line with that's been required by the elected members. So we haven't done any separate reporting on that particular issue. I also haven't seen any, there was some footage being circulating on social media and so on. I haven't seen any issues since this change was made.
Okay. So since November, say about approximately November last year, you've not had any complaints from pedestrians or ratepayers or businesses?
No, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
We've got the Lord Mayor, then we've got Councillor Alderman Bloomfield, and any others want to jump in on the list? Councillor Kitsos. Okay, Lord Mayor.
A couple of questions. So in terms of any complaints, does that include, has anyone sort of reached out to the bus companies themselves?
Yeah. So, I mean, prior to even starting, we did obviously, or we've reported back that yes, we did engage with bus operators, Metro, Red Decker, and the Skybus. There were trials and turning movements through there. So we have obviously discussed this with them, and yes, since then we've had no further conversations, commentary, apart from a check-in, say, is it going okay? Yep, it's going okay. That's it.
Just another question relating to buses. I did ask a question just via our elected member request system, just asking about the buses that do come down Collins Street and use a bus stop in the blocks before Murray Street. And when I got some feedback from staff, I was very surprised to read that there's a sort of Blackman's Bay to Montrose service that comes down Collins Street and uses the bus stop sort of outside the bus mall. It doesn't go into the bus mall. It actually stops there in just near Murray Street and Collins. And a couple of the other services that I was just kind of a bit baffled why they would sort of, what I would perceive, come down a sort of, a route that isn't sort of, given it was basically going from Kingborough to Clarence, and really sort of why they would sort of slow down their service by sort of, I guess, going through the city rather than just going to the bus mall. Do you know why that is, and whether Metro sometimes looks at the efficiency? Because I just think about the efficiency of, if you're going that long distance, why you'd be winding through the city rather than just going to the bus mall quickly, and then, or even just stopping in Macquarie Street and then continuing on.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right, Lord Mayor. There are a number of services like that. My understanding is it's to do with staging, where they then have to pick up their next. So it's obviously part of their timetable design. So, for example, without going into the detail of that one, my understanding is that one then needs to then turn towards Macquarie Street from Collins Street in through the bus mall to then do their next runs. So there is a design element to why some of those services use Collins Street. So that's probably the short answer to that one. They are doing a review at the moment, obviously,
Yeah, right.
and we've expressed at certainly officer level a greater desire to use, as you've noted, Macquarie and Davey Street for those style services.
Yeah. I do think there's more opportunity in Macquarie Street that I'd be interested. So I'm glad that's happening.
We would agree. Yeah.
Yeah. The other comment, I guess, really was just to note that I did receive disappointment from some pedestrians that what they felt was a much safer crossing there over Victoria Street was taken away, and that they didn't feel that their perspectives were heard, or they probably didn't. There wasn't a consultation. There was just a decision made, but I think people felt that was a bit of a backward step. And I appreciate, it was obviously busy at Christmas time, but I just wanted to put that on the record that there was definitely some feedback I received that people were a bit disappointed to lose that calmer, easier way to cross that street, because it is still a bit of a point of conflict, and I don't know what the long-term solution is. Ideally it'd be great if you could turn right out of the car park and go down Victoria Street and into Harrington, so that we just generally provide more options out of the car park rather than all having to come again across that junction, which is now quite a busy pedestrian area with people sort of going to Fuller's and going to the new outdoor dining areas. So yeah, I don't know what the long-term solution is there. And what was the other one I was going to mention? What was the third one of those? So there was
the drop-off in the middle block near Village.
Third one was Victoria Street.
just the yeah. No, I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Alderman Bloomfield.
Question. One of them was, what are we doing about adjusting for e-scooters? Because now that it's been identified that they're not a legal use on the bike lanes, were they identified when we did the initial measurements, and are they identified now? So we have like for like or not? I wasn't even sure how many e-scooters were actually being utilised in the initial measuring, to be honest. The second thing was, I've been a bit concerned about accidents in Collins Street, because my understanding was that Collins Street was a remarkably safe street to use regionally. And I've heard that there was a cyclist who hit one of the bollards and broke their arm, and that was a few months ago. And then on Friday, I was contacted by a quite distressed ratepayer who had an elderly gent who tripped over a bollard and had to be taken to emergency care on Friday night. And they contacted me because they wanted to make sure the council was aware of it. They weren't sure about the process and protocol, but the ambulance was included. So they're two that I've heard about. I'm concerned that we may have others, and I don't like the idea that we've gone from almost no reported accidents to two that I know of to date. And the third thing I had to ask was regarding the impact of the new platform that we have for the buses. Given that it stops all traffic whilst people get on and off the bus, I was curious as to what are we measuring there? What have we found? Is it actually fully functional yet, or are we still getting to that point where it is being used the way it was designed to be? Because I'd like to understand a bit more about how that's impacting the area. I have regular contact with businesses in that area, and none of them are still quite unhappy. So I think it's really important that we keep on communicating, and I'd like to know more about these questions. Thank you.
All right, just working my way backwards from the last one. Yes, fully operational. Sorry, I'm trying to look around the table. Yes, fully operational as of Thursday last week, so it is now complete.
So we'll
the design as
see how it works.
That's right. The design as per council's decision is now fully constructed. So that's the good news. We're now in a post-design environment, so everything we see from now on is fully what was endorsed. That being said, the impact of the bus border was felt when it was constructed, which was about 5 weeks ago. So we've been doing monitoring. In the first week, we were out there every day watching it, making sure, and that's multiple hour shifts, making sure. The key there is trying to understand adverse effects, things that we didn't expect. Remember, we did some traffic modelling that was presented to council, so we obviously had a baseline for which we knew there'd be some impact. We haven't seen anything untoward that we didn't expect as part of that, to the point where the traffic lights themselves are the impediment on traffic flow, not the bus border. So observing the buses to date, there's been no impediment through the bus stopping, cars stopping behind. The buses would then have been held up at the traffic lights anyway. So there's been no sort of major constriction of flow as from the bus border itself. The moving from 2 lanes to 1 lane, that's probably been the biggest constriction for flow, because obviously previously you had 2 lanes of traffic moving through. We've now got 1. However, it's within what we've modelled, and we've got a high level of comfort that we're getting enough throughput at that location. So there's a high level of comfort there. But we monitor that. That is our role. We will monitor it. We know how the system needs to work, and we'll continue to make sure it does so. Second one.
E-scooters and accidents.
Accidents, yes. So one of the key metrics, I think it's metric 4, and what we've committed to providing back to council is around safety and the safety of all road users. We haven't, as of yet, provided that in our monitoring reports, because we wanted a statistically relevant time period to pass, so which we could then provide the data to you. I think we made a commitment, and it was in a response to an EM request. I think, yes, we will be providing the accident or the incident on Collins Street as part of the 12-month one-year trial. So watch out for that one when it comes to you.
When's that one?
So we're doing that in June, and we will present that to council probably in July. So that's
really useful, given that we didn't know that they were not to be utilised in the bike lanes, and now they're not. So what impact, did we have stats on?
We do. So again, presented to council in the pre-1 month and 3 month, we've delineated between e-scooters and bikes as part of that reporting that we've provided to you previously. And again, we will provide that to you in July as part of the counting regime. So you will get a delineation of those two data points.
Thanks, Alderman Bloomfield. Councillor Kitsos.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Look, I am really happy with Collins Street. It's great to see that final stage finished. I've ridden down it today actually, and it's working really well. Looks great with the added street trees and greening in the planter boxes there too. Just wanted to acknowledge how good it is that we have a tactical trial on Collins Street, and that we can see that we've had some concerns from ratepayers. We've made some observations about the traffic flow, and we have actually been able to change those. So, no complaints about the buses since we changed the holding line. In regards to the drop zone outside Village Cinema, did we change that, or was that in the original design?
No, so previously so on this side of the road there was previously a 5-minute zone, and there's still a 5-minute zone. Immediately across the road there, where you can see that little orange, I don't know what you call it, Toblerone sign. Outside there, before the bike lane, there was a no parking sign. There was spots for a single car to lay up in a no parking zone. Effectively acted like a pseudo drop-off space, about 10 metres back from the cinema. You can't see it in that photo, but if you turn the other way, there's now a loading zone. So obviously the other side of the driveway entrance to the underground car park for Village, there is a loading zone as well. So basically 10 metres the other side, and that is used frequently by people now to drop people off.
So we haven't actually made any changes to what we originally designed to the feedback?
Since installing the trial, you mean? No, it's as per the initial installation.
Okay, that's interesting. I'd be interested to see where we've retained parking heading out of the city on Collins Street, whether we need any kind of drop-off 15-minute, 5-minute parking zones there as well, because that seems to be the most amount of feedback that we're getting, is that through traffic of people wanting to drop off people for appointments or go to work or whatever and keep going. Yep. And you go down there and you hold your breath that you'll be able to pull over and find a spot, and otherwise you're heading down the one-way streets in the wrong direction. So I think that would be potentially something that we could look at. And in terms of the pedestrian treatment that we removed because of the spicy Christmas traffic coming out of the car park, I'm just wondering, does it exist in the world of traffic management to have a treatment that can be there for the 98% of the time that is not Christmas, and then is removed to allow that extra flow at Christmas? Or is there some kind of traffic management that we can do at that particular critical time of the year that then doesn't affect pedestrians for the remainder?
Yes, that's the short answer, and we're certainly looking at that. Given we're in a trial environment, we don't want to get too clever. We wanted to be really clear with our application. Again, acting under our Transport Commission direction, we have to make sure we apply guidelines. We are interested in seeing, so it provides us with a really nice case study of 12 months operation in one form, and now we're about to see 12 months operation in another form. And at the end of the trial, we'll then be able to present to council both forms and how they operated, and given how they both operate, is there a permanent solution that can contemplate exactly as you've described, an operation that provides for 11 months of the year a certain form, and then also empowering some of our parking staff who actually manage the car park, and they know what's going on earlier than anyone else do, something that they can mobilise at short notice to open up flow as required. So the short answer is absolutely yes, and we'll look at those options.
Great, and on a similar kind of vein, obviously the bus stop is a bit of a change to what people are used to on Collins Street. How much kind of comms have we done around the change there? And is it, obviously you've said that the traffic light impacts flow more than the buses, but sometimes complaints are more of a perception of change. Why am I suddenly waiting for a bus? That's a whole new thing to happen in Hobart.
Yep.
is there anything further down Collins Street that we can put to say, you know, turn up Victoria Street to avoid that intersection, worded in a very nice way to encourage that traffic flow? Because I don't think a lot of people are kind of thinking that there's actually a way around that. And also, what kind of external comms have we done to educate people about the change?
So as part of the 1 year trial, rather than going out now and then in, 2 weeks' time, we're about to start the regime for the. We're going to do it all at one time. So we thought we'd do it as we open up the 1 year installation trial. We'll notify people what's going on, what have we done, how's it working, include some of those sort of strategic pieces around traffic flow. It is funny though, so you've noted that, and we've observed it. People are pretty cluey. If there's a bank of traffic, which there have been at times, not because of the bus, because of the lights, and Victoria is clear to the right, people just turn up Victoria Street to get some clear flow down Macquarie. People find, you know, those paths of least resistance, and that's if they're travelling through the city and that's their intended exit point. That's a great result for our local network. So the quicker we can get them onto the highway network, the better.
Yep.
So it's kind of self-evident. So we don't need to do, hey, if you see a blockage, you know, turn right. People will do that anyway. So yeah.
Great. Excellent. Thanks for the comments.
Okay. Any other speakers at the table? Deputy Lord Mayor, then the Lord Mayor.
Okay. Just had a question out of curiosity, actually. With all the changes that have been going on, have you received any calls or anything that you're aware of related to complaints or the bus stop? Or,
you know what?
There's no parking there.
We've had nothing.
Oh, that's great.
So since I've been back now 2.5 weeks, since the majority of the changes have gone in place, we've had 0 calls, correspondence. So you may have a different experience, but certainly at an operations level, where people are adapting.
Lord Mayor, and then Alderman Zuko.
This is sort of a related question, just around the B streets, because I know we encouraged people to start thinking about the B streets, and that we'd worked with the state government around improving the opportunity for people crossing Hobart to get a better deal, in a sense, a better timing deal than the people going through Hobart along Davey and Macquarie. And if they use the B streets, they're going to get a nice, smooth run in peak hours. But Barrack Street still seems to be, like the other day, basically there were 3 blocks full of, Barrack Street was full with 3 blocks, and people who are trying to leave Collins Street, it's not Collins Street that's holding them up, really. Right. It's getting into Barrack Street, and Barrack Street seems heavily congested. And I could see from where I was sitting in a car that basically the traffic was, there seemed to be not as much traffic in Macquarie Street. You could tell that basically there was just lighter flow than it seems the traffic lights were allowing for. Yep. So I'm just wondering, can we sort of do some of our own monitoring and talk to state growth, and to what extent do we have a dynamic relationship with state growth to make sure that they are giving people crossing the city a fair deal in those peak hour times? Yep. Because to me didn't seem like, we'd said to people Barrack Street will give you a good run, and Barrack Street still doesn't seem to give people a good run, even though it's 3 lanes or so, and they're meant to kind of get that better traffic light timing. It seemed to be like you got through 1 block and then the lights changed, then you got through 1 more block, and so do you have any idea about whether state growth is sort of fulfilling its promises in that respect? Yeah, it's an interesting question. So my understanding, and we do have a dynamic relationship both at an operational level and a strategic level with DSG around transport, which is it's actually really quite productive, which is helpful. Barrack Street at Macquarie and Davey gets between 43 and 45% of green time. So it runs as hard as any other cross street in Hobart on an ordinary PM peak time. Now, I don't know which day you saw it, but there have over the last 2 or 3 weeks been a number of incidences on the southern outlet in particular. If the southern outlet is blocked, or there's another downstream blockage, or
things that are outside of obviously our wheelhouse, the state, and rightly so, will look to provide, I guess, as much flow to those certain links as possible. We do debrief with them, we do try and understand them, but we do acknowledge that they're operating a whole of system traffic signal network, and that sometimes there are incidences that require a slight nuance of the traffic signals.
Right.
Ordinarily though, in PM peak, they run between 43 and 45% of green time.
And would that include sort of from 3, because I think this might have been that 3 p.m, I think there's a 3 p.m. period?
Yep. It starts at 3 p.m. The synchronisation of the triple B egress route starts at 3 p.m.
All right.
So, but that's not to say there wasn't a day where, without going into the detail of the day in question. But that being said, we do and we take that seriously, and we will continue to monitor it, and I'll pass that feedback on.
Thank you.
Alderman Zuko.
I just have a question. It's been stated that there's been no complaints. Has Andrew Edwards, just one person, ever written to this council in regards to the Collins Street pipeline?
Not for a while.
Didn't ask a question.
Through your chair, there have been a number of emails with Mr Edwards, but I wouldn't describe them as complaints.
Okay, no worries. Okay, but
quite curious about
there have been concerns raised.
Well, he has...
Okay, thank you.
Could you please finish your answer?
He has requested information on timing, he's asked for detailed construction drawings, when's this going to happen, how's that going to work. So it's about how the works are rolling out as opposed to saying it's not working.
Thank you. Any other comments? Deputy Lord Mayor?
I was just going to clarify. My question was actually with regards to the changes now, and if we'd received any complaints now from all of the changes that we've had, and you've said no. So thanks.
Okay. Yep, Councillor Dutta.
I want to follow up Alderman Bloomfield's accident matter that she raised. Do we have any complaints, the two that she has referred to?
So that matter, Alderman Bloomfield referred that to me, and so I've referred that into our system, so that's being investigated through its normal channels. But I'm not aware of any others. So.
Thank you.
I've got a question with regard to bus usage. Are we seeing more people on buses heading down Collins Street or wherever through the city? Is that reducing any noticeably reducing any traffic?
There's a few threads to that question. So general bus use uplift, there's obviously correlation, causation. There is free bus fares right now. So we have seen a massive uplift in Hobart. I think we had a meeting with DSG last week. I think they mentioned 34% increase in bus use in Hobart, Greater Hobart, which is tremendous. So yes, we've seen a massive uplift in bus. Is that because of Collins Street? No, it's because of free fares. That being said, we've had some feedback from Metro and other operators. They are loving the new operation. So from a driver and organisation, or public transport organisation, are they happy with the infrastructure you've installed? Absolutely. So that makes their job far simpler. Previously, they would sort of try and enter in, and most of the time they'd have their back of their bus sticking out anyway, so it was causing a blockage previously. So there's been no material change in that regard. So as far as operational certainty and consistency, we've seen a lot of positive feedback from the operators. Lowering of vehicle movements, we're doing that. Obviously, it's only 2.5 weeks since it's been absolutely sort of complete in the sense of what we're seeing. We'll continue to monitor traffic changes as far as are there less people moving down Collins Street via car or not. We'll monitor that.
Okay. If there's any questions from the floor, we don't want long comments, but if there's any questions, yep.
Yeah, just one very simple question. When you're redesigning the North Hobart strip onto Augusta Road.
We're in Collins Street at the moment, so if we could
stick...
Oh,
sorry. Okay, bang.
Okay, thank you. All right, there's no further questions. I'll draw this item to a close.
Can I just ask what the process is now with the deferred motion?
The deferred motion?
Yep. So when you've deferred a motion to workshop, what happens next?
obviously it has to come back to council. So we've done the deferral in terms of the workshopping of it. So now it will go back to council. Okay.
And does that, that will have to wait for a while, will it?
Not necessarily.
It
Talk
could
to
come
Karen
to
potentially.
May's meeting.
When will it go back to council for the matter?
This workshop, this item. Oh, this moment.
Taken, it will come back.
Yeah, it's procedurally a bit funny now.
Doesn't it need to be voted on?
Yeah, they'll need a decision. It needs to go back.
Which should happen here.
We'll come back to you with dates. It'll have to come back.
Okay.
Decision making.
I'll just go back to May's.
No.
But we can make decisions, so why aren't we voting on it now?
That one we'll just discuss.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, all right.
Can I just ask a follow-up to that, please, CEO? I know you just said take it on notice, but aren't we a decision-making body and therefore can vote on this item?
No, it was presented for a workshop. It's not presented for a decision. It'll need to, it's been workshopped. It'll need to go back to council for a decision.
So if we want to defer something to workshop for more discussion and decision, we need to word it differently in the chamber.
I don't think you can do that.
Okay.
It's not a procedural motion. So.
Okay, all right. Okay, our next item is item 6.4, which is the multi-sports hub expansion. Hello. Sorry, I haven't got... Could you just introduce yourselves? Yeah.
I'll start.
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
We have been doing quite a bit of work on the...
Just introduce.
Sorry, I think you all know Phyllis.
Yep.
And Kelly, who's one of our program leaders in the Sport and Rec team, and Gaetano from Easy, who's...
Sorry, Gaetano.
an architect that we've been working with. So, so Gaetano's been helping us with some of the designs. Sort of will walk through the current proposal, which is slightly different from the version that we're
Is this the device? Great. Okay, thank you everyone. Is it working? There we go. Okay, I hope you can all see that. So today we're just going to talk you through a new proposition for a multi-sports hub on South Point. As elected members would remember, we had an original proposal which was for a four-court indoor basketball facility on South Point Road, but actually facing Marine Parade, which is the road that leads to this facility. Quite a constrained site. Obviously, that was the site that we could offer at the time that we were working with Phoenix Basketball Club. As part of our work, we've basically undertaken all our investigations in terms of environmental assessment, geotechnical assessment, and traffic investigation. No surprises, that work did reveal that there were some fairly significant constraints with the site. It is quite squeezed into a small part of the rugby site. And obviously there is flooding, access, and particularly some parking considerations. Now, we could have potentially kept working through those, but we did have an approach from the new CEO of Rugby Tasmania, Jeff Quick, who did talk to us about a potential for using the current rugby site to actually develop a multi-sports hub. So to accommodate the future needs, the current and future needs of rugby, and a number of their tenants they actually have on site as well, which is the Institute of Sport. I think PCYC has some, and Football Tasmania have some presence on that site, and obviously meeting all the needs of the Phoenix Basketball Club and their aspirations to have a home and a centre of excellence for basketball, which we currently don't have a suitable indoor facility for basketball in Hobart in the LG at this point. So it felt like a really great opportunity. The new site gave us better access. It actually is on a proper road. There's very significant parking, which basically stretches from Queen's Walk all the way to the Cat Centre. We are, as David said, we are looking at upgrading that road as well, potentially. It actually gave us the opportunity to work quite closely with Taswater in terms of configuring what that parking and road fringe and access point might look like. But it also gave us the opportunity to have greater flexibility and also to have some future proofing. I think one of the biggest constraints on the original site was the fact that it gave us no future capacity for expansion. Whereas the site that we are looking at now, and Karen will just flip that over, actually does provide significantly greater opportunity. Gaetano will talk to this, we'll talk through the design detail a little bit more, but you can see over obviously on the left-hand side, you've got a site which is very squeezed against Marine Parade. Does somewhat compromise what we've been trying to achieve there in terms of the renaturing of that rivulet edge. And what we're looking at here is expanding significantly on the current site. You can see there we've got our 4 courts. We have some room at the front of the facility potentially to expand those out in future, and you can see the significant stretch of parking capacity along the gas road frontage there. We have noted some parking on the left-hand side of as we look to the grounds, the rugby pitches. That's probably not an optimal use of that ground, but we just wanted to present that the site does actually give significant opportunity. As part of this, we would need to move the pitches forward, but again, that provides some opportunity going forward to actually improve those playing surfaces. So a unique opportunity here to build a future-proof facility and to create a real activity hub that actually has the physical capacity to accommodate high levels of activity in terms of, you know, the ambitions of the Phoenix Club and obviously rugby going forward. And just to close that out, some of the strategic benefits, again, multi-sports hub, and just as a note, as part of our Greater Hobart sporting infrastructure study work that we're doing through cross planning at the moment, one of the big learnings out of that is multi-sports hubs work really well. They create with the right management structures, just to reaffirm that, do actually deliver sustainable outcomes for local government and sports. One sport doesn't have to bear the full cost of maintenance and upkeep. That can be shared with the multiple providers. And I think from all our learnings, looking around nationally, bringing a range of entities together in one multi-function, multi-sport space seems to be preferred. Again, so it's got basketball, rugby, significant community interface there, which is really important given our close proximity of that site with social and affordable housing. PCYC, Tasmanian Institute of Sport and Football TAS. Potential inclusions are indoor courts, gym and fitness spaces, community and meeting rooms, and a cafe and kiosk. And importantly, club facilities, which is really critical for both rugby and Phoenix. Some of the key drivers and outcomes are, improving participation in sport, right across our social cohorts, social connectivity, further activation of the precinct, and it really, again, aligns with government priorities we understand at a state and particularly a federal level. And obviously we do have an ambition at some point to try and secure some federal funding, which is all about shared infrastructure. Okay.
Did you want?
Yes, and so just as part of the next sort of steps, so we're doing just the concept design, which we're presenting today. We've obviously got the $12.5 million in Tasmanian government commitment. As everyone knows, there was no specific funding secured in the federal budget. However, there may be opportunities going forward. strong stakeholder support has been achieved, and we've got representatives from Phoenix today, Matt and Stuart. And then next steps are the progression of a DA for the site. But I think Michael might want to talk through some funding scenarios with you.
So just before Gaetano goes through the building design with you, which I think you'll find pretty impressive, we clearly haven't got federal funding for the project. We've got $12.5 million sitting on the table from the state government, which has been confirmed as reconfirmed in the last week or so that money is available. There's no funding opportunity for the foreseeable future from a federal point of view, so it is something that I think the council should give some consideration to actually providing funding to the project, given the strategic need for it. Certainly, in projects like this in other cities that I've worked, the councils have looked at a third, and so a 30% is just $7.5 million. Again, just to give an idea of a funding consideration that would then unlock the 12.5, with then time, I think, to work towards other funding opportunities to address the shortfall, or to do it as a stage development as part of its implementation. So it's just something that I'd like to put on the council's table for consideration.
What's the total cost?
25 million.
25. Mm-hmm. Okay, what's next?
Questions?
Hang on, have we finished the presentation?
No, we've actually got Gaetano who will work through the design in some details. We just need to just change the presentation. Yep, full screen.
Thank you, everybody. I've been asked to look at the possible future design for a combined sports hub, incorporating. Go back to the first slide. So this is the site. The original Phoenix Stadium was intended to be in the northern end of the site, but now. So now we're looking at pointer works, more to sort of the southern end of the site along Selfs Point Road. And as Philip pointed out, the opportunities in this part of the site are much more open or much more conducive to a development that allows sort of flexibility for future enlargement as well. So that's the existing site, with the existing buildings shown in the white down to the bottom of the page. There is a constraint on the site in terms of the current leasehold arrangement of Taswater with their living sheds. But our proposal is to demolish the existing buildings and provide a new invigorated facility for new improved rugby facilities, the forecourt stadium for basketball, as well as improving the facilities for the current sports house, which is incorporated into the site. So we've looked at initial engagement with the stakeholders. So we prepared a brief. So the yellow is the basketball, green is rugby, the grey down the bottom right is the facilities for sports house, and then there's associated facilities. So looking at initial kind of arrangements, I guess my commission was to ensure that the facilities would fit on this portion of the site and allow for flexibility for future growth. So just working through these diagrams, which shows the basketball in yellow, the rugby facilities just to the north, and then combined facilities, the gymnasium or shared facilities to the That's the lower floor and upper floor, and as we might just move to the larger plans, which will be more easily read. So what we try to do is maintain the ambitions of Hobart Phoenix Basketball Club, and maintain the ideal forecourts with storerooms and change rooms on the lower floor, which allow for expansion to the right of the page. Should to envisage future expansion. The rugby facilities are facing the oval, and allow for change rooms with direct access to the oval. There's also the entrance and shared facilities. There's potential for a commercial gym or a shared facility for gym activities. In the upper floor, we have the function spaces for basketball overlooking the future show court, and also the show court, as well as social facilities for the rugby with a deck facing the oval to allow for viewing of the rugby fields, and sports house office spaces on that upper floor with potential cafe and other facilities there as well. So the site actually works quite well for accommodating the current proposed facilities as well as expansion. And that's the presentation.
Okay, all right. Ben, you're first.
Thank you.
I mean, Councillor Lohberger.
Thank
But we are
you.
it's a workshop, so a little bit of informality is okay.
Look, it looks like a great proposal. I guess I had my questions were two-pronged, and the second one was more about funding, so I think Michael's answered that. The first one was just about moving the playing fields. It's all sort of difficult land there. Are we pretty sure that we can move those rugby fields further north, it was, by the look of it, and that the ground will be okay under there? I mean,
look, I think that the fields aren't great at the moment, so I think they do tend to undulate a little, so moving them would allow us to level them out as well. So yeah, I don't think we perceive that to be a big technical issue. No.
All right, great, thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Deputy?
Yeah, thank you.
Deputy, then Councillor Dutta.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to know, there was, so the initial thing that we actually got around this was for the four courts for it to be the home of Hobart Phoenix.
Correct.
And it came to us, did it come to us at planning? Was it planning, or it was council or something for us to approve that portion, that slither of...
Correct.
Yep,
There's
okay.
a formal council decision to provide that area.
Yeah, okay. And then so we didn't do the geotechnical stuff before that came?
No, we didn't. No. So basically council gave landlord approval for that to occur essentially, and then we went away and did all the work around putting the DA together. Yep. So as part of that was the analysis, the spatial analysis. We did some further architectural, because we had to treatment, because we had to try and make some space available for off-street car parking, and obviously we did our geotech and environmental assessments as well.
Okay. And then as a result of that, it's come back, no, that's
well, I think there's a couple. There are two things. Obviously, some of the constraints of the site became obvious, but more so, I think in addition, there was the offer from rugby. It's fair to say with the new CEO, rugby, we've had a really positive engagement. We started to engage with Jeff Quick, CEO of Rugby Tasmania, around the master plan, and we got a sense that there was a fairly foundational shift within the organisation and real interest in cooperating and working closely with us, and obviously the opportunity for partnership with Phoenix became more evident. And then obviously we were waiting to see the outcome of the funding scenario at federal government, and then that allowed us to come to this meeting tonight to present to you.
Yeah, no, look at the design and all of that. Well done, it looks really good. It looks wonderful, and it looks as though basketball, the Hobart Phoenix has the large portion of coverage over it, and so there's then the gymnasium and little
bits and pieces. So will they be the primary leaseholder of that place?
We haven't determined the exact management model, and obviously we want to co-design that with the key project partners. Obviously, you know, it would be a council facility, but we'd seek to identify the optimal management model which represented the interests of both Phoenix and Rugby.
Okay, and that'll come back to council? Or
We will certainly bring back a more resolved proposal to council for endorsement.
Yeah, and so just wondering, that 12.5 million that was for the original concept.
Correct.
Would that won't be jeopardised as a result of this new design?
We'd obviously engage with the state government. Obviously, the state government are keen to see, are obviously fully committed to see a indoor basketball facility, one utilised by Phoenix. So we'd be delivering that plus a range of additional benefits to the community, and I think that's something which would make the investment even more compelling from our perspective.
Yeah, okay. So at this stage, it's just here's the design and the concept that we're
Here's the concept at this point. It's very much a concept, and we're
Yeah.
still working through with the stakeholders on finalising the design.
Right, so the specifics around who has lease over
Correct.
what bid, none of that has been
No, we haven't resolved
discussed
any of
with
those
any of the
issues yet.
stakeholders,
No.
and that's
No,
what you'll be
correct.
working through.
Yeah.
And Rugby's okay with it, Hobart Phoenix are okay with it.
Yes,
It's
yes.
just, yeah. Because, I think, the original, just from, it's been around for 2-3 years, whatever it was, the original, trying to get it up and running
Yes,
and
yes.
doing 4 courts,
Yes.
and then we just did media about the necessity for the courts.
Yes.
It'd be hopeful that, at least Hobart Phoenix would have a home, because that was the
Correct.
push around it the whole time, Hobart Phoenix needing a home of basketball and being the primary leaseholder, I think would be great.
Yeah. So now we've had the opportunity to brief elected members, we'd be seeking to engage with the state government to make sure that they're equally as comfortable and to brief them on where we've landed.
Thank you.
Councillor Dutta, and then the Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation. Firstly, with regards to the 25 million, the projected cost, how long will it take if we were to build it in stages, and will it blow out?
We'd obviously design it to, we've got an opportunity to design it to budget. Obviously, we've got a range of functional requirements we need to match. So next stage will be continuing our design work. Obviously have a conversation with the state government to make sure that funding is secure. Come up with a resolved design, and as part of that we would actually get a QS to determine costs to build, and of course then we would come back to council to reaffirm that we can deliver the project for the amount that we've talked about tonight. Obviously, if there's any further identification of other funding streams, we'd bring back to elected members as well. But we would obviously not progress until we have confidence around funding, cost, and making sure that it actually meets the requirements of the key project partners.
And the second point is, with regards to the funding that we have from the state government and the balance that we are looking at, is it possible, now I think the question will be to the CEO, is it possible for us to allocate each year for the next 6 years, for example, 2 million towards this by cutting elsewhere, or we've got to go and look for funding elsewhere?
No, so this would be a capital project, so it's certainly within our means to be able to fund it. You can defray it over 2 years depending upon timing, but it is something that, because of the capital nature of it, that we would be able to accommodate.
Thank you. And the final question, with regards to maintenance, so who will be responsible if it's our facility? What sort of maintenance cost are we looking at, or are we going to lease it to someone else?
I'd say that based on the way, so our major sporting infrastructure in Hobart is generally leased. If you look at the tennis centre, the hockey centre and the netball centre, each of them are leased with the tenant responsible for the maintenance, so that we'd obviously need to be consistent around that.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Dutta. Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Yeah, I've got really mixed feelings about this. On one hand, I mean, I really love the idea. I love the thinking around moving the location. It makes a lot more sense. The road, the access. But what worries me is we're proceeding with a even more complex project, or an even more expensive project than the original, because we're now bringing in upgrades to rugby facilities, demolitions, new gyms, new this, that and the other. So it's a more ambitious project, and I don't really have the confidence that there's funding coming more. I mean, the state government could well cut more, and they've always been very insistent that the other half has to come from the federal government. And until that comes, we've got a standoff. So I was sort of hoping that we could find a way to do something with less, you know, whether that's sort of the basketball courts with a roof and some sort of slightly more informal, so they're not quite outdoor, but they're not a whole building. They're more of a sort of the courts with a good roof and some sort of way to protect the sides from the weather without sort of doing a full building, just so that we can get something done rather than overcomplicating things. Because while I appreciate we could put money into this, we also have an outstanding commitments to an aquatic centre which gets more than 600,000 visits per year. Several years ago said we were going to fix up the netball courts, and we had a beautiful building design. I don't know whether Gitano was involved with that one as well, but that was our sort of favoured project, and that's still outstanding. And we sort of said to the community that was going to be delivered, and then I could list a mile long a sort of list of non-sporting essential infrastructure as well. So it'd be nice in the ideal world if we had endless amounts of money to proceed with this, but I love the location. I just wonder, can we also just look at a cheap and cheerful 4 courts with a roof and a sort of something sort of that we could do for 12 million, just as a backup, that if in a year's time we're still slogging and banging our heads up against, we can actually get some courts done, because the courts was the urgent.
I think,
and maybe make some money available for rugby to do up. I mean, their sheds down there probably need sort of an internal refurb. And I appreciate that, but anyway, that's my feedback at this stage.
thank you.
Again, it's not that it's not a good idea. It's just that I'm just feeling a bit nervous about funding, and I think rather than going bigger, can we also find a practical way of kind of delivering something sooner, because it's really quite critical, the need for courts. Like we need it. They need it really so soon, like now.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Lord Mayor. We've got Councillor Kitsos, then Alderman Zuko.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Look, I tend to agree with the Lord Mayor. I mean, when you look at this project, it looks incredible, and it would be great. But at what cost does it come if council are going to fund it? So I think for me to be able to make a decision in the chamber about committing financially to this, it would need to be absolutely sure that there wouldn't be federal funding down the line for this project, and understand what implication it has for future capital works, because obviously it's a huge commitment. We've got City Hall on our books as well, so are we going to be able to contribute the same amount to support a new tenancy into City Hall as we can for this particular facility? So, I mean, I guess I don't know enough about it yet in these early stages to understand how the project's grown, and whether this new partnership is beneficial or does complicate it, maybe will delay it and maybe make it more expensive. That's not to say that the end result won't be better, but I also hear that there's an urgent need for the courts as well, so making sure that we can deliver it would be a priority in my line of thinking as well. So I think just some really detailed financial implications in the report that comes to council before it goes to the chamber would really be helpful. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Kitsos. Alderman Zuko.
So you've got $12.5 million already from the government?
Well,
sorry, Lord Mayor, I'm asking.
Yes,
Correct, yes.
Thank you. I know that as well, Lord
Yeah.
Mayor. It's all right. I wasn't asking you, sorry. So we've got $12.5 million in the bank. If I was going to go out and buy a property right now, and someone gave me $12.5 million, I'd say I'm halfway there. All I need to do is find another $12.5 million. So we've got $12.5 million coming in from the state government, so we've got half of the money in the bag sitting there.
it's not sitting there.
Lord Mayor,
Hang on, hold it.
Chair, this
Wait.
is the third time
Yeah.
I've been
Could you
interrupted.
please not interrupt Alderman Zuko, Lord
Did
Mayor?
I interrupt anybody?
No, you didn't.
Thank you. To my point of view, if the
Wait, no. Yes, Alderman Zuko, have you go.
The government has committed $12.5 million through you to the appropriate officer, yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. So right at this point in time, we've got $12.5 million sitting in the bank, technically. As a business person, if I had $12.5 million sitting over here, and I had to find $12.5 million, it'd be a project I'd be going down the pathway of, because that's what we basically did with the aquatic centre in the first instance. Right? We had funding, and then all we needed to find was another $1.5 million. The Lord Mayor at the time went door knocking and found the $1.5 million. That was Doom Kennedy. That's why the aquatic centre's pool is named the Venturance Pool, because that's how the money came through. Now, as a business investor, give me $12.5 million, we'll make it work and find out other 25. As a business investor, the council is going to get an investment of $12.5 million on one of our properties that we own. So that's a massive investment here. If anyone has been on that rugby field, and I have, I don't know how they don't break their ankles on a weekly basis playing rugby, because it's the worst grounds I have seen in the city of Hobart. So we're not only going to get basketball, we're going to get the two grounds that are there at the moment fixed. But not only that, when you look at the development, it's going to be a development whereby it will be used by many other organisations. Now, if we invested a quarter of the investment, that means we've got $12.5 million coming in from the state. We're investing a quarter of it, let's hypothetically say, into it on our property and getting a development, upgrades and everything on our property. That would be a good way of going down the pathway to the feds and saying, hey, can you put in X? Because that's the way it operates, and that's the way we operated with the aquatic centre. So I'm sorry, Lord Mayor, and I'm sorry those people that don't understand economics, that this is $12.5 million in the bank is an economic benefit. We lose it, we don't get a massive redevelopment for the future, not only of the current players of basketball or rugby, but our future kids, grandkids and everything, because we need facilities that we haven't got now. I'm sorry, I can't believe it.
Thanks, Alderman Zuko.
Thank you.
Deputy Lord Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm just wondering,
I'll put you on the
maybe
list.
it's, through you, Chair, to the CEO, is the $12.5 million sitting in the bank?
It's been committed to by the government, so it's in their forward estimates.
Okay, and what do we need, how does it get unlocked?
Largely, it's about recognising the full amount to be able to deliver the project. So.
And the initial proposal was for the 4 courts?
The initial proposal was for the other.
For the other
one.
one.
Largely, 4 courts, plus all of the club and the requirements that are required to run the club and to change rooms, social rooms, kiosks, those sorts of things.
Okay, so if that's already there, that money's supposedly in the bank, can we start the staged process now for just to build the 2 courts? Because we have a lack of courts. I mean, we've been speaking about it for years. So if it's already money in the bank, can we start it and do original for what that money was intended for, which was the courts, can we start building the 2 courts?
I don't, look, no is the short answer, without having to being able to realise the full extent of what's proposed, the 4 courts. I don't think you would be able to.
Okay. You done?
Kind of.
Thanks, Deputy.
Disappointingly, yes.
Back to the Lord Mayor.
Yeah, look, I just needed to respond because I found Alderman Zuko's tone was a bit accusatory, as though people were not wanting basketball courts to be developed, and I just wanted to clarify a couple of things because I and particularly Laura Eaton, as well as the staff, have done a lot of work, and Deputy Lord Mayor, to advocate for this over a number of years. Initially to the state government, and the Phoenix Club have done a huge amount of work. It's
John Kelly.
Incredibly tiring and frustrating for them. So finally there was the commitment made out of the state government, but it was absolutely conditional. Like, it is not in the bank, because they have said in their letters, and I've seen them and I've spoken to them, that it is conditional on $12.5 million being put into this by the federal government. Now, the federal government is not going to fund this kind of project. I don't know when they'll be back to sort of federal government sporting grounds. So that's why I think we need to be thinking creatively and going back to the state government, potentially with some of our own money, but potentially, that's where I was wondering whether we could think creatively about something that provides the courts but is a simpler design and potentially isn't as much of a building as the courts with weather protection. So everybody around this table wants the same outcome, but some of us have also had a lot of experience and hands-on experience dealing with this matter over a number of years and have worked incredibly hard and are at the point where we know how desperate people are for courts, and we want to find a practical, deliverable, affordable solution. And so this isn't some sort of one-upmanship about, who's a better business person. This is about, trying to get the result as quickly as we can with the state's money and maybe a bit of our own, and going back to the state government and saying, look, we know you've said it has to have federal government money, but that's really, becoming less and less likely. Can we together look at a redesign which gets the result we have, but perhaps doesn't have all the bells and whistles? And hey, by the way, we found a much better site. And I think we could still, of course, upgrade the elements of the rugby fields and those sort of things within that package. But I'm sort of thinking of going to the state government saying, could we do a package for $15 million or something and look and see what we can get that isn't perfect, isn't all the bells and whistles, but we can actually get something done like in the next year or two, or maybe 2 years is probably more likely. Anyway, I just want to clarify, because I've got this feeling that people were being sort of accused of not caring or not being sensible business people or something like that, and I just want to clarify that everybody has been working very hard on this.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Thanks, Lord Mayor.
I just want to clarify.
Hang on, wait. We've got Alderman Zuko, and then we've got Councillor Kelly.
Okay.
Yep. And then
I haven't accused anyone
Alderman
of anything other than I was talking economics and common sense.
Alderman Zuko, let's focus on the item and getting this done.
No, but I've been attacked, and I'm responding to that attack. Yeah. I haven't accused anyone of anything other than economics and common sense. And I said very clearly, there's $12.5 million in the bank, whether it's in the bank of the government. The CEO has already stated that it is approved, waiting to see if the other 12.5 can come forward.
And that's the issue.
And I made the point, that if this council committed some funds to it as well on our property, that package could go to the federal government and say, look, We have got X amount of dollars, we need X amount of dollars to finish the project. It's called leverage.
Yeah, I
And
totally
I'm
agree
talking
with you,
about
Alderman
leverage.
Zuko.
I'm not accusing anyone of anything. Let's use our leverage. We've got the property. Let's use the property as leverage. Let's use the dollars in the bank as leverage. And let's consider giving some money as leverage and sitting down and maybe, yes, it might take 2 years. Hey, there's a federal election in 2 years.
Yep, no, I hear you and I understand. But if we can keep it about the project...
Well, that's what I discussed.
Okay. Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Gaetano, for the presentation there. Do you have any renders of what it looks like on the outside? Cladding-wise and all that?
Not yet. The initial, it's really just a concept plan at this point, and a lot more development needs to be done before we...
What would you envisage you'd be clad with, without getting too detailed into the design?
It's probably a little bit sort of premature, but I think to respond to the Lord Mayor's question about economies, I guess that at this stage the economy of the quality of the building can be addressed to some degree, with the expectation that it might be staged and improved down the track. But yeah, look, I think it can be an economic structure, especially the courts structure, because that can be like a shed kind of facility, not so different to this facility here, like the structure here. So it can be done economically.
Because the only reason I'm saying that, and I understand that the budget constraints are going to dictate things, it'd be sad to see a new building in tin, a tin shed sort of set up. This will be high visibility. It's a new project.
I think that's right.
And I just see, I'm just reluctant or be scared that we're going to be cheaping out on a design that's, not worthy of a capital city investment on it. So anyway, that's my first point. Secondly, through your chair, another question. So the geotechnical side of things, this being a former tip site, which I remember as a boy, that's been borne into the costings of the cost of the whole project. Has there been any input into what that might be, or is this just on a clear site, normal site?
Through you, Chair, the previous site did require pilings of around 16 metres, so very significant pilings. We haven't done any geotech on this site, on the proposed site, but we obviously, given there's already structures there which haven't seemed to have any sort of structural failure or any cracking, we have maybe a sense that that is more stable, but we haven't undertaken any geotech at this point. So if the site's more stable, then obviously there are going to be some savings in construction because you don't have to have all the piling that you would do at the original site.
Yeah, once again, because of the site, I'd really sort of want to be some surety that, that I'd hate to see, sorry fellas, we've blown out another $3 million because of the geotechnical. I think that's a real important matter to consider before we get all too excited about this and then looking at Veg in our face saying that, sorry, we can't afford to go down this road. But that's a comment, not a question. Look, an incredible opportunity here. I'd like to also know too, just for future reference, how does this sit into the whole basketball story of Hobart region and all that? I mean, it's great that the Hobart Phoenix, which are a very established club and all that. I mean, I'd like to know how long the lease is for, just to have some surety that this investment's not going to be sort of abandoned after 10, 20 years or whatever, which it's just a probity sort of thing that I think we should tick off and make sure it's something that could be asked against us. So that's all I wanted to make a comment on that. But so far as staging it goes, you're going to pay, it's just not an economic thing to do that. So it might be thought to be a good idea, but the costs to get a contractor to do something half and then come back and do it again, all of that's just going to blow something out. It's just be too messy. So I think we've got to go for, if we're going to go for a project like this, we've got to do a quality job of it, and it's got to be long lasting and it's going to have a good business case for it. But broadly speaking, I think it's an incredible opportunity, especially if the state government are going to chime in with that amount of money. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Bloomfield.
I just wanted to ask a bit more about the business case, because earlier discussions we've had in earlier meetings, that there was a comment made that sports grounds tend to cost money to council rather than actually be cost neutral or make money. So I was just kind of curious where this one fitted. If we were to do the full 25 mil investment, where would we fit as far as cash flow goes? Because the other question I was looking at, if we had this whole issue about we'll get the 12.5 if we get the other 12.5 from other funding. But if there's a really good, strong business case, for instance, we could possibly also explore getting a loan, so a 10-year loan, corporate loan to fund the other half, because we're still 12.5 million ahead, as long as the business case stacked up. So I guess I was just kind of asking about exploring that, whether or not that, because projects like this are really important to our city, and we want it done well. This is exactly what this is. We've seen equivalent design setups at the netball courts area and so forth. Some brilliant work there as well. So I'd like to see it being established as it was intended rather than something half done, especially if there was a business case that would actually support that. So I guess I would either like that explored if it hasn't been, to see whether or not we can realistically get it done with the 12.5 we have in hand, if it can be done without necessarily relying entirely on the federal funding. If we think that might not come through, then might still be a case this way as well.
Okay, thanks, Chair. I might take that because certainly we will. We wanted to test the temperature of the council tonight to understand where you're at in terms of willingness to consider funding. Clearly, we will do a business case around provision of funding. The strategic need for it will be demonstrated through the regional sports infrastructure study that we funded with all of our neighbouring councils recently. So that's about to be provided to you all. To some of the other points, we do need to factor investment in this facility versus the maintenance and renewal of our current asset stock, and that's something that we will bring forward to council again. We just needed to sort of have an understanding initially where you sit on it.
Okay. Yeah, look, I think, well, my view, 12.5 million out of 25 million, we've got another 12.5. I would be happy for council to commit something to that. And the collective effort of having the Rugby Association, whatever it's called, the Institute of Sport, I think was on the list. Have we got that list handy again? Could you just read out who was on that list of partners in this? Sorry?
It's Football Tasmania.
Yep, Football Tasmania.
VIS, TIS, and PCYC.
Yep.
Yep, they're the main ones.
So they all carry a bit of cachet.
Yep.
So I think collectively,
Cachet rather than cash.
coming up,
Yeah, cachet rather than cash.
yeah, cash. Yeah. But I'm sort of quietly confident that we only have to come up with another $6-8 million from wherever to make this project happen. So I wouldn't want to downscale it and put it in a tin shed. I know I played basketball in a tin shed. It was a dog pavilion at the showgrounds where I learned to play basketball. That was pretty awkward, horrible. But I'd like to think we can pull this off with the right partnerships going forward. If we've got a commitment for 12.5, if council's committed. And I'll go back to something that I learned, I don't know, a long time ago, sitting at a table with Infrastructure Australia people. They said, Tassie's got all these great ideas, but they never put in decent designs or complete the application to shovel ready. So they always end up on the bottom of the pile. Great ideas, but they don't float to the top because they're always half-assed with some of their applications. So I'd like to think a really great submission will float us to the top and have a chance of getting money through Infrastructure Australia or whatever the other opportunities are, with the support of a strong basketball community, a strong rugby community, the Tas Institute of Sport. What would they do there? What do they want to do there?
Office space primarily.
Office, yep. So there's this, I think it's a good opportunity. So I'm on the side of having a go. I think it's a great opportunity. And I hope we can pull this off over the next few years. So that's my view. All right, I think that's enough on this item. What do you want from us going forward?
No, I've got what we wanted.
Yep, got our view. And remember, it's a workshop, not a formal meeting, so I'm happy for people to have a bit of discussion across the table as well. So, through me, of course, but, it's okay to have a couple of goes and discuss things thoroughly. So, yeah, go on. I'll invite the people at the end of the room to have a go. Come up the end.
Just a couple of quick points. The tin shed that you and play basketball at the showgrounds is a better facility than any kid in Hobart has ever had. There is not an indoor court in the city of Hobart.
It was asphalt floor.
It's still better than we've got now. Legitimately, that's better than we've got now. We've got to go to Kingborough, Clarence or Glenorchy, our kids, to play basketball. We have some trepidation around Anna's points that this is now becoming a more complex build, but we also see the upside that you've just mentioned, that shooting for the stars and having a state-of-the-art facility that serves multiple groups and is something that will last for generations, there is some benefit to that. The trepidation for us is the commercial courts that we had at Swisher, which have closed a month ago, are now gone, so there's nowhere in the city of Hobart to play. For the first time in 5 years, every year for the last 5 years, we've had a 10% year-on-year increase in participation. Just now we've looked at our numbers and we've had a 12% decline. It's not because we don't have kids and adults wanting to play, we've got nowhere to put them, right? The last point, when you're considering your business case and when you're considering the impact that this might have on the city, think more than just the costs and the cost of maintenance. Elfin Sports Centre in Launceston in 2023 had 360,000 visitations. And in Hobart, we can't host a national championships, we can't host a state championships, we can't really host a tournament. Any tournaments we have are in the Northwest Coast or are in Launceston. Now, all of those families come down here and stay in hotels and buy at supermarkets and contribute to society, and we don't get any of the benefit of that in our community. And I feel that having a basketball hub in the centre of the wagon wheel of the population in southern Tasmania would have a terrific contribution to the city, both on a social and connectedness level, but also from a financial point of view.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's it. We'll draw a line under this one, and we'll stop for some sandwiches and a cup of tea. If you want to hang around and chew everyone's ear over a sandwich, you're welcome. Meeting, please. We have two supplementary items that I need a motion for.
I'll move.
Thank you, Ben. Councillor Lohberger. Cheers. All those in favour of having the supplementaries, say aye. Those against, say no. Declare that carried. We have two supplementaries. The Heritage Account Special Committee. Who's speaking to that?
Me.
Go for it.
Okay. There is a prezzo. Oh, Craig's onto it, and where did the clicker go? Constantly losing the clicker. There it is. So this is just to very quickly and gently float a couple of subjects with you before we bring a report to the meeting next week. So just a reminder for those who aren't as familiar with the Heritage Account, it's a statutory account. We were given some money about, what is that, about 30, yeah, is that 30 years ago almost? And we've kept that account recorded separately as we are required to by the legislation. And the way that we have managed those funds is with a special committee overseeing them. So the special committee has a terms of reference which are set by the council and guidelines which go into detail about how we can release money from that account and give them as grants to members of the public. So the reason we are bringing this to elected members, a couple of reasons there. The current cap is for 60,000 plus CPI, and it's not very flexible. So what we found is that we are getting, lately with the good interest rates, we've got more in the account than we might have otherwise, so the account's sort of growing without the ability to have any flexibility about paying extra out by way of grants. And the other reason we wanted to tidy up the terms of reference was sometimes we have people who we award a grant to, but for a variety of reasons they might not take up the grant, they might move house, they might decide not to go ahead with the project. So we find that that money then goes back into the account and effectively doesn't get used. So we've put some figures up there just showing you what's in the account at the moment. So that current balance of almost $2 million is as at the 30th of June 2025. So using the current terms of reference, we would be able to give out approximately $80,000. When we look at the real value of the fund, we've seen that there's approximately $140,000 in addition to that at the $80,000. So the proposal is really about creating a larger grant round this time of $220,000, and for that flexibility to be available to the committee going forwards. So it was looking at changing the amount that can be paid out of the account. We also just wanted to touch base with the membership of the account. We currently have 2 elected members, so the Lord Mayor and Alderman Bloomfield, and plus CEO or a nominee, who's usually the Senior Cultural Heritage Officer, and a finance expert, Michelle, as our CFO. So we wanted to touch base with elected members on do we want to keep it at 3 elected members? The committee's view was it could probably stay at 2 or drop to 2, given that it's likely that the council itself will drop to 9 members very shortly. The other point we wanted to float with you was the cap under the guidelines. So that has historically been at $10,000, but it's proposed to increase that for individual grants up to $25,000, plus a potential further $10,000 if it's for a public project. And that's to allow for further flexibility for things like the Battery Point Community Hall, or there's a church in South Hobart, All Saints, which they are looking at quite expensive works, for example. So they're the kind of projects that would fit into that potentially maximum $35,000 for grants. And we're also mindful, of course, that costs of construction have increased quite dramatically over the last few years. So while it is an expectation of applicants to also co-contribute to these projects, $10,000 doesn't get you very far these days. So if there were other payments, so council does retain the ability to authorise payments out of the account, so it's proposed anything outside those parameters would come back to elected members. So they're really the key points I just wanted to float with you and get some feedback ahead of Monday night. If there's any questions that anybody had, happy to help.
All right. Anyone got a comment or a question? Looks like there's none.
Sold.
You've nailed it.
Good.
Yep. Fantastic. Item 10, Sandy Bay Bathing Pavilion, future development and use.
Thanks, Chair. That's with me. I'll just wait. There's a brief presentation. For those that have been on council for a while, obviously you're well aware of the background behind this, but for some, given you would have been surprised at how long we've been looking at the Sandy Bay Pavilion. So just by a bit of background and history for you, so it's an architecturally designed structure. It was designed in 1962 by Dirk Bolt, and it features a distinctive precast concrete facade symbolising mid-century architecture, which we'd all be familiar with. It's played a significant community and recreational role over the years, so it's been the home of the Surf Life Saving Tasmania since 1969 in various leases and forms. It's protected on the Heritage Register, was added in 2012, and in recognition of its architectural importance. So the council has long held an ambition to explore opportunities to revitalise the pavilion, including activation of the ground floor, for instance a cafe in association with the current users, Surf Lifesaving, but also the upper storey extension to accommodate a restaurant has been proposed for many years. There are a series of redevelopment challenges in terms of heritage, planning, community concern, as well as the balance between preservation and revitalisation of the site is something that we need to consider. So just by way of some of the key history, so there was a planning permit issued by the council in 2001 for a 92nd floor restaurant with 18 additional car parks. So that was approved by the council and then was later refused by the REMPAT, as it was now TASCAT. So the TASCAT found that they had concerns with respect to there being out of scale with the zoning intent and that the parking was insufficient, and arguing that the additional parking would intrude into the village green and require a link road, is what they said back in 2001. So it did get re-invited, so it sat idle for quite a while, and then 2013 a notice of motion by former Lord Mayor John Freeman requested investigation of options for redeveloping the upper storey of the pavilion, and it remains outstanding through various situations including COVID and other matters. But one of the primary matters has been that the Crown land has got a restriction in terms of there's reversionary conditions that was given to us through the CLAC process as a council. We had it as a long-term lease prior to that, but one of the conditions in providing the land to council was that if it's to be used, it can't be used for any form of commercial use, and if it is, it has to be given back to the Crown. So we've had to negotiate a way around that, and so what they've agreed through discussions now is they're prepared to continue for us to surrender the title. They would lease it back to us at a peppercorn. We would continue basically unimpeded, and then if we do manage to, at some stage in the future, have a commercial opportunity on the site, you would commence paying commercial rent as part of that. That's where they're at now. So there's still a fair bit to work through in terms of the site zoning, open space, makes food services discretionary. So obviously the DA process, we've got the heritage listing. There is a conservation management plan that has been developed for the site. The council developed that some years ago, so that sets the threshold for us to comply with the heritage requirements for developing the building. There are community traffic concerns. The previous proposal was rejected due to parking, traffic and impacts. We have done, since that happened, we've done traffic impact assessments which demonstrates that a restaurant could certainly be accommodated within the existing traffic and parking environment. So we did progress with a proposal in 2018. So that design was proposed and approved by the council. It was endorsed by the architect, Dirk Bolt, before he died. So that still sits as a proposal. We've been through proposals to introduce a cafe at the ground floor to support daily public use and provide amenities to beachgoers and visitors, and the last one of those fell over because of the restrictive covenant on the land, or the restrictive conditions on the land. Leveraging the pavilion's heritage status is certainly an opportunity through thoughtful design, and balances the preservation with modern innovation, and that proposal, as it was suggested in 2018, was deemed to be compliant with the conservation management plan, and obviously, as I said, there's been traffic and parking studies that shows that a restaurant certainly could be considered and is approvable under the scheme. So really what I was looking for is to see whether there's any issues in terms of, or whether there's interest in this council to continue with the investigation of the restaurant. The land tenure would need to be finalised, so that what we'd be recommending is to resolve and finalise the land tenure arrangement with the government to now allow the redevelopment with commercial use into the future, to undertake the preparation and development of a development application, which would include updating the traffic impact assessment and the like to get that to a stage. Obviously, as part of the process, you would need to get the approval of Heritage Tasmania, which we've had conversations with them, and so long as it accords with the Conservation Management Plan, they're pretty comfortable. And obviously there's a pretty broad intent to continue supporting the Tasmanian surf life-saving activities, and they've been pretty flexible and good in terms of managing the council's long-held ambition to develop the site. So that's it, Chair.
Okay, so I have a speaking list of Loberger, Kitsos, Kelly and Zuko.
All right, thank you, Chair.
And Lord Mayor.
I'll be as quick as I can. I'm really supportive of the restaurant on the top floor. I think that looks fantastic. Really happy for that to progress. I'd really prefer to see surf lifesaving retain interest somewhere on the ground floor. I'm not sure if we can have the cafe and surf lifesaving potentially, but that's probably my thoughts on the whole matter. The restaurant looks great. I think it's a great use for the area. Not sure about the cafe, given the closure of Nosebag recently nearby, and the tenure of surf lifesaving, but I think we should try and retain surf lifesaving's link to that building. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, great idea. Really happy to support that. I think it's very, very much needed there. One of the things families find frustrating when spending a day at the park is there's not many places to actually get food around there, and certainly it's the coffee business is. There's always someone there to buy coffee. There's been a little coffee van in the car park over summer that's done a roaring trade. I was curious if we were going through this process, and it's obviously further down the track, but I'd like it noted somewhere that area out the front of the pavilion is really needs improving. So you've got all that beautiful grass and barbecue sort of area, and then obviously the gravel part where people are washing their boats and things, but it's the kind of thoroughfare to walk around to Blinking Billy, and I think that could actually be a really much appreciated community space. If you have a look at the kind of hospitality businesses on the waterfront in Newcastle, on the beach, has a lot of similarities, but they'll have a coffee shop next door to Surf Life Saving underneath the club at the top. And often the cafes then are putting their kind of street side dining out the front that's heading down onto the beach, and people are sitting on those stairs eating and drinking as well. So I think it's a really great vision for the area, and I look forward to seeing it.
Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, CEO, for this. I just love getting these ideas to us, and instead of the run-of-the-mill stuff, which of course is a part of our job. So well done for yourself or whoever's presenting this to us. There's so much out there, these assets we have, and to have a presentation like this is really proactive, I think, and exactly the stuff I love to see and hear. So congratulations on that. What a great building. I mean, I could talk for hours about this building and that part of Sandy Bay growing up. Going to there, it was like the Bondi Beach of Hobart, just as Hewlin Bay was when I was growing up as well. This building, I mean, and getting back to my point about let's do a good job of the basketball court, here we have a change room, a toilet block, and when I was in Surf Life Saving I used that shed as well with storage boats and that. But look at the incredible detail they went to doing that, Dirk Bolt did, and the visionary of council to have that money to spend on those concrete reliefs, that art wall, which is just stunning. Good story to that is they poured all the moulds in the sand on the beach, and they did the formwork there, tilted them up and hung them on the wall. I mean, how visionary was that? And that's the point I make about the basketball court. Please, let's just think about doing some quality thing like this. Spend a little bit more money, and that's been there for 60 years now. What an incredible, iconic asset it is. So, and hopefully we may consider doing stuff instead of a vertical tin shed basketball court. So the building was, I understand, built to allow construction on top for a restaurant. I know there are challenges with the foundations with this, but nothing building works and engineering can't get around. We've seen the adaptive reuse of the seagrass building formerly known as Prosper's just around the corner, of doing exactly this, putting upstairs an old unused area, turning it into an absolute quality restaurant area that tourists and the locals absolutely love going to, and this could be absolutely iconic. Just another one of those little suburban areas. It's not big and brassy, it can be subtle, run by a small operator, and it's exactly what we as a council should be aspiring to and be presented to and work towards. So what a quality idea and development this could possibly be. The last thing I'd say though is I do get a bit twitchy with the residents and the parking issues that they've formally displayed. I note that you say there's been a new traffic management plan. Hopefully that may alleviate all that, but I'd be wanting to know that that was not something that could make the whole thing fall over before we progressed a bit too far with it. But sometimes you've got to put it out there a bit to get the full idea and all that. So I love the concept and idea, and it's exactly what we should be doing. So thank you for this opportunity.
Alderman Zuko?
Well, as we can see, this design goes back 28 years. It actually nearly started, it started before that, and it went on for a while until we decided at the time to actually get the design done. I actually remember the design, I actually remember the floor layout of the kitchen, in which there were some areas of the kitchen which needed to be reworked and all that. But it's been a long time in the making. Like, I understand now we're going to revisit it. We've spent this is probably one of those projects that's been on the agenda for that long, and we've spent money spent quite a considerable amount of money on it over a period of time. I'm supportive of it. I've always been supportive of it. And I also agree it should also retain the original use there. Cafe downstairs is, to me, needs to be part of the restaurant, so that way they're not competing with each other, and that way that may make it quite viable to go forward. But have we given thought to, in moving forward, going down the pathway of an expression of interest?
Yeah, we will.
Is that what we're looking for? Because I think that's the only way we're going to probably get this off the ground again. Because you're going to need someone in the hospitality industry, which there's plenty of them, who would look at it and go, yeah, okay, the long term. So if it's an expression of interest, we're going to be going down the pathway. I'll fully support the expression of interest, because I think we need to get this finally done. It's been there, as I say, on 30 years, but if not more.
Thanks, Alderman Zuko. Next is the Lord Mayor, followed by Alderman Bloomfield.
Can I just get clarity again on because this is old. This came to us in 2018, and we spent a fair bit of money on it. And then, I think I did ask a question about it, what had happened to it, and that's when we found out that the Crown lease didn't allow us to do it. And I just thought, how do we get so far and spend quite a lot of money on designs? And that's not your problem, that was a previous. But I mean, it was really disappointing to hear that had happened. But are you saying that if we develop it and it has a commercial use, that we will get no benefit?
No. We would have to. There would be a percentage charged to our lease for the commercial, but it wouldn't be. It wouldn't give it. No, it wouldn't be the whole thing.
This looks beautiful, but I guess I just wanted to be a little bit of the sceptic in the room, and this might not be popular, but the question with all these kind of things, it looks lovely. The question is, what's missing in this area? What's missing in this area? Are there restaurants? Are there cafes missing in this area? Is there something that we can provide that is missing?
Mm-hmm.
There are restaurants in this area. There's a restaurant like 40 metres from there under the they're not great restaurants, I've got to say, but the current lease owners. There's a restaurant basically a stone's throw from there underneath the apartments that's quite large that I'm sure is offering similar services. There's the Seagrass, which we mentioned, which we do own and is offering a similar sort of offering. There's multiple cafe leases close by. There's the Pizza People. This area is not missing restaurants. What this area is missing, and what I've had a lot of representations on, is it's missing we're missing kayak storage. We're missing opportunities for people who really want to utilise the water to be able to store kayaks, store canoes, pay a rent. I just think we always sort of tend to go with the obvious thing, which is create another sort of gentrified cafe, but maybe we could activate the area with other facilities. And so I think when this came to me, I said, well, why don't we sort of make it more of a public space rather than just competing with the restaurants. So I like the idea of doing up the building. What I'm not convinced about is the use and what our role is and what role public facilities can play in lifting an entire site. And actually bring business into the restaurants that exist. Like, if we've got money to spend too, I'd love to spend some money on that whole retail precinct, because that is really dowdy. And again, I think until there's some investment in the retail precinct, it'll probably continue to have not great tenancies. But whether we need to develop another restaurant, I'm not sure about. I would like to see the facility lifted up, and I'm totally open to the idea of another floor, but what its use is my question. I also just want to mention that I've had complaints that Surf Lifesaving underutilises the site. They don't currently they don't do any patrols at Sandy Bay. They don't do much training at Sandy Bay. I've heard people who've got canoes and kayaks say there's a huge amount of people in the kayak and canoe community that would love to sort of have, like many beachy places, we don't have a place where people can rent a space to store their kayak. So maybe that's a facility that we could provide, and Surf Lifesaving, if they need an office, because I think that's more what they need these days, maybe that could be upstairs. I don't know, but love the idea of investing in this, and appreciate that we probably can't pay for it without a commercial tenancy. But I just do wonder about what our role is and what's the best use for this site.
Okay, thanks, Lord Mayor. Councillor Alderman Bloomfield.
Okay, so what I find really interesting is by establishing another upstairs restaurant, we're actually starting to really redefine the character of the area, because it does need an uplift. And just because there's other cafes and restaurants around, we have the same thing in, say, North Hobart. Some restaurants, when you have a cluster of them, we actually bring more traffic, more foot traffic, and also particularly we've already got a coffee truck out there anyway. That's quite a transient look. It'd be much better to be able to have something that's a little bit more established. So the other thing would be too that by having something that's strong, it's new, it's exciting, we're actually going to create more established foot traffic in general to the area, which is over and above just your beach use. It doesn't mean that downstairs couldn't be utilised for, say, some of these things like storage and so forth. But storage is actually, I hesitate to think that would be very difficult to run, because it costs money to establish. You've got to have someone who's available, but how much people are prepared to pay to store their kayaks and so forth would be debatable. I also thought too that the cafe downstairs wasn't actually able to be done because of legal restrictions. That was correct, wasn't it?
It was the same. It was the title restriction.
Yeah, exactly. So it's rather than chase something you can't do, I'd rather chase something you can do. So I just figure that something like that is nice and strong, it's visual, and we start to redefine, because Seagrass itself became a destination, you know, and if we have two strong destinations, we overall benefit, because if one's too busy, the other one will pick up and take up. And the other thing is too that we all know that Nosebag recently is retiring, that they're moving on, so there's going to be some more change, and there's been regular change for that area for a number of years. So anything that we can do to revitalise and, as they say, increase the quality of business being able to perform through there is a good thing. So normalising that you go to that area to have an expected experience is actually something we can't lose with. So I'd be really excited to see this getting established. It's a really great building to literally build upon with a visual aspect and good business sense on top. So yeah, I'm very for it.
Thanks, Alderman Bloomfield. I'll have a go. I think I'm leaning towards the Lord Mayor's contribution here. Is what's needed in the area. What are the priorities for the council as well, and what's going to activate the area in general. And I don't know whether we need another restaurant that I probably won't go to, because I don't want to pay X amount and be disappointed with a tiny little meal when I'd rather have a pizza anyway. But I'm just cautious about having more competition for cafes and coffee shops and restaurants when you've got a cluster of them in the area. Do we need another one? So don't know, but I would like to have an idea of what are some other alternatives for the site, or do we need, or do we not do anything with it and just leave it the way it is as a pavilion? But I don't know, I'm not over excited about developing it, and also who would pay for the development?
That's part of the expressions of interest.
They would need to build and operate.
But that would be the model I would suggest to council. It shouldn't be council paying for it.
Yeah, yep. So I think people would like to move into something rather than have to build it first. But I don't know, see what the expressions of interest are. But yeah, I guess my main comment is, do we need another restaurant? Is there something we haven't thought of yet that we could stick in there? I don't know whether we stick yachts and boats and things in there, or whether we put a homeless shelter on the roof, or whatever it might be. Is there, what have you got? What do you think? What are the other good ideas we could potentially do?
So we'll definitely have a look at it on the back of tonight, understanding that we're still dealing with the notice of motion back from 2013. That's what this is about.
Okay.
But we'll add this into the conversation before we bring it to council.
Yeah.
So
there could be a do nothing.
There could definitely be a do nothing.
Yeah. Yep. Well, okay. All right.
It's a lot of, isn't it? Also.
Yeah. No. So I'm happy with that. We've all had a go. Anyone want a second go? Or are we all good?
Just wanted to quickly ask.
Just a quick second go.
Yeah, just a very quick question. Do you have any concern about the time, time constraints, and how much more money or time?
I have to say that it's a little bit, because we're dealing with Dorney House. We've got a fair bit on our plate at the moment, so it's probably not the best time to bring it on.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Look forward to it coming back. The last item of the open is the questions. Anyone got any questions? No questions? That's excellent. So we'll move on to the closed. Would somebody like to move? We go into the closed. Thanks, Alderman Bloomfield.